What is up? How in the world is everybody? Seems like it's been forever. We are here to do our 15th episode of the Big Blue HoopsCast. And we got Selection Sunday yesterday and a lot to talk about. Let's go.
Carolina, number 7, EIG. At Florida, 6'3" junior from Albury, New South Wales, Australia. Number 32, Amelia Hansen. At center, a 6'5" sophomore from Buffalo, New York. Number 13, Mara Stratton. At guard, a 5'8" senior from Greenville, North Carolina. Number 10, Deja Torres. And at the point, a 5'6" graduate from Madeline, Victoria, Australia. Number 3, Nova Abel.
All right, guys, welcome back. It is College SportsCast. We are here tonight. Got Hammonds here with me. What's up, Hammonds?
What's up, man?
Yesterday was Selection Sunday, and I spent mine doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And I'm not going to talk about the morning part of that day, but I've done all kinds of stuff yesterday, including going to Lexington to a watch party for the girls, for the women's team last night. Really cool experience. We will kind of dig in here to March Madness and Selection Sunday for both the men's and the women's team. John, I guess I'll start with this. What was your surprise for the day, men's or women's? You're muted. I can't
Just
hear
Kentucky or overall?
Just Kentucky. Just talking about Kentucky stuff. Was there anything that was a surprise?
Not really. Now I thought that they could have been a 3 seed. But some of
The
that,
girls, the
but I
women's
think some
team,
of
I
that
thought
had
so.
to do, but some of that had to do with some of their losses that they had down the stretch. I think, probably losing early to Oklahoma in the tournament, the SEC tournament. I will say I didn't like the fact that they got put in with USC. If it had been anybody else, I think it would have been okay. But Juju Watkins is really, really good. That team's really good. And I think to me, that's a cause of concern. They got a really, really good team. And
They
Kentucky's
do.
really, they're going to have to, which I think Kentucky can get out of their bracket, their home bracket. But beyond that, it's going to be tough. Let's just be honest.
We're going to dig into it. But before we do, I got on the screen there. You can help support us by sending stars. You can also subscribe to our page on Facebook. It's only 99 cents. If you're with us on YouTube, we appreciate you as well. We are over 700 now on our YouTube page. We have grown to over 700. We're trying to get to 1,000, and we're getting closer and closer and closer as we go. So we appreciate everyone joining us, and we'll kind of get started from there, man. Selection Sunday is one of my most favorite days of the year. It always was. I can tell you from a kid, this is years and years ago when you didn't have internet and you couldn't just click a button and see everything. I sat down with a notepad, a notebook, and paper in front of the TV from the time I was 6, 7 years old. I was scratching out UA and UK and I mean, I was just as quick as you could scratch it out to get the brackets down. It's always been one of my favorite days of the year. You're muted again, John.
It's probably one of the greatest sports out there, right next to the NFL playoffs and the Masters. It's one of the greatest times of the year, and you always remember those times when you're a kid. It's you're in the middle of school hours. It's on Thursday, and everybody brings their TV in to put it in the room.
I can remember. I mean, this was a long time ago. They would roll the TV in on the cart, and it was one of those little box TVs. It was this was on a little cart. It wasn't no projector. They'd roll it in on a little cart, and it was like a little box TV. You had to go up and turn the channels. Had a little knob. You had to turn the channels and stuff. I remember the teachers doing that when I was like in grade school.
Yeah, we had
Thursday, and they would let us watch some of the games.
We had a projector, I think, when I was going, and I remember one vividly that a lot of UK fans probably remember was when Tayshaun Prince was there and they played St. Bonaventure in the first round. I think it was back in 2000. That's when Tubby Smith, I think they played Syracuse. Syracuse wasn't great that year, but
gosh, I'm talking about Joe B. Hall days. I'm talking about
that was that was back when you was a kid. I mean, me was more like Prince. Going back a little bit farther, maybe Mashburn.
I don't even know if there was projectors back then.
On the thing too,
probably not.
A lot of people don't realize that we don't have the TVs that like back then. All the games wasn't on different channels. You had one full regular game that was shown, and then they would kind of do a check-in with
CBS.
games.
Yeah,
on CBS.
It was a CBS, and they would check in with other games. Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't have the normal 4 or 5 games playing at one time. You would have a really solid game happening.
No, you didn't have all that.
And you didn't have all that.
All right.
It's changed a lot.
Let's dig in here. Let's dig in here, John. I want to start with the SEC women's basketball tournament. I want to say a huge thank you to Cammie Moore from Kentucky, the women's SID, and then also the Southeastern Conference, all the way from Greg Sankey to Tammy Wilson. Huge thank you. It is such a great, great honor to be there. And John, I cannot tell you what that crowd is like, 14 to 16,000 strong in Bon Secours Wellness Arena when South Carolina is playing. It is, I mean, I'm telling you, John, it's got to be one of the top 2 or 3 venues in all of women's basketball. It's an amazing time. Of course, Kentucky got knocked out in the quarterfinals. The first day they were playing, they had beaten Oklahoma in Norman, led a big part of the game. Of course, kind of went cold towards the end. This is kind of their Achilles heel down the stretch a little bit here for the team, and lost by 4, I think, to Oklahoma in the quarterfinals round. It come down to Texas and South Carolina, and of course, South Carolina kind of run away with it that day.
They run away with it. They really, let's be honest, they run away with the whole tournament, basically.
Yeah.
They were really not.
Texas really couldn't score. They only had 46 points in the whole game. Got beat by 19. I think it was 65 to 46. South Carolina looks really good, and they look scary. I do want to give them a little bit of a prop here before we really dig into Selection Sunday. I want to show you about a 20-some second clip here of South Carolina celebrating with their fans after the win for their 3rd straight SEC championship, and 9 out of 11 years. just a short little clip there of South Carolina. Give some big props to Chloe Kitts, Malaysia Fulwiley, Tessa Johnson. They really played well there. Fagan played really good there as well and was part of the all-tournament team. So got to give them just a little bit of props here to start the show out with. All right. From there, John, I got to talk about getting to go to Lexington, right outside of Rupp Arena, the Central Bank Center last night, and getting to be a part of Kentucky women's basketball selection show watch party. There was family there. There was for all the girls. The practice team was there. The men's practice team that practices with the girls all season was there. All the Kentucky bigwigs from Mitch Barnhart down was there in the room, and just getting to be a part of it. They had a huge screen. It was bigger than life size. It was two of me, probably, a projector that you're, watching it all on, and getting to watch the ESPN on such a big screen right there and be a part of it with the girls and with the team, with the coaches, was a pretty special deal.
Yeah, anytime you get to hang out with a team like that and the big shots like Mitch Barnhart and all, it's a pretty good sized deal.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am going to show you a clip now. I think this is the moment that Kentucky was announced as a 4 seed in their region with the girls last night.
At that 4 position, Dre is the Kentucky Their first round matchup will be against 13 seeded and Conference USA champion Liberty Flames, who are back in the tournament for the first time since 2018 after winning Conference USA. They got a nice loss on too. Congratulations. Ticket punched officially the first round matchup. Sitting at the 5 position for Kansas State Wildcats, 18-1 when Aoka Lee plays 8-6 when she did not. Certainly we'll keep an eye on that as they will face in their first round matchup the MAC champion number 12 Fairfield Stags, making their tournament appearance back-to-back for the first time in school history. We see the names. Okay. I don't know what any of these answers are called. I do think they're just like challenges based on TikTok, but that's fine. There is your 5-12 matchup.
All right, John, that was the moment that was kind of announced there on TV. They were the last in the last region announced last night. We kind of had to wait through all 4 regions there. And it, you started, we knew that they were going to be announced. So it wasn't like we didn't know if they were going to make it or not, but it was kind of a longer wait than I think some of the team and even coaches kind of thought it would be.
You had some of that in the men's side too last night, where there was one particular team that I thought maybe might not make the tournament, but they ended up making it at the very end. But, Calipari, Arkansas.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
At the end of the day, man, it's nice to be able to get back to the tournament. Coach Brooks has done a really good job with this team. They played in
first year here, guys. Like Kentucky has not been to the tournament since 2022. So I mean, it was a big deal last night.
It was, and they're playing. They played in one of the toughest conferences in college basketball. They had 10 teams get into the dance. We had a program high 11 wins in conference play. 6 of their last 9 were against top 25 teams.
Right.
And to go through a gauntlet like that and to get a 4 seed in Coach Brooks' first year says a lot and a testament about what kind of coach he is.
Absolutely, man. So that is the next topic here, man, as they were announced as a 4 seed. I will say there was some hope, including myself, that they might be able to get that 3 seed. However, Oklahoma got the 3 seed, Kentucky got the 4. Whether that's fair or not, for me, I don't think it is. Kentucky went to Norman and beat them on the road by 9. And then Oklahoma beat us by 4 on a neutral site, but it was at the end of the year, and it's fresh in everybody's minds. But if you ask me, the more impressive win of the 2 would have been Kentucky's in Norman. You're muted. You got to hit that button.
They was 14-2 at home. Their 2 losses came against Texas and LSU. They lost, and they necessarily didn't lose bad games. They lost to some really good teams. Now, I will say the A&M loss is up there that's kind of head scratching. But
the A&M loss, if they hadn't had an injury, their team wouldn't have been quite as bad. Let's just be honest.
And then they had the Missouri game where they had to come back and win that one. But overall, there was times where Kentucky played really, really well during the year. They beat a good Louisville team. They beat a good Illinois team that was playing really good.
They beat Oklahoma. They beat Alabama. They beat Tennessee.
They beat Tennessee convincingly at home.
Yeah.
So they had a good year. I'm just very disappointed in the draw, more or less, Brad, because they're probably going to go up against Juju Watkins and USC, which is going to be tough when you really look at numbers.
Here's the significance of a 4 seed or higher. The significance on the women's side, it's not like the men's. The top 16 seeds or top 16 teams and top 4 seeds in the women's side get home first and second round games. This is a very significant reward for a very good season, and something I don't think when they hired Kenny Brooks last year that a lot of people would have thought about. I think they overachieved, to be quite honest with you.
They did.
The first season.
And I think, too, the men and women are a lot different when it comes to seeds. I say this all the time. Me and you talked about this. The 1 seeds on the women's side rarely ever not make it to the Final Four. Very rare you see.
2 to 3 of them make the Final Four every year, just about.
Yeah, you rarely see one of them losing that Elite 8 Sweet 16 game. And I think that's where I thought Kentucky being a 3 seed, they could have had an opportunity to, maybe beat a 2, like a Notre Dame, a LSU, somebody to get a chance to play for the Elite 8. But, you take the draw that you get and you go out there and you just try to make the best of it. And hopefully you can get to Sweet 16, and maybe you never know what happens when you get on that floor.
So they get to play at home. Their games are going to be Friday at noon Eastern time. This is a big deal. Fans, buy your tickets. They're only $18 to $30 for single games. Depending on where you sit, they're only $18 to $30, okay? Buy your fans, show up Friday at noon at Memorial Coliseum, and let's pack this place. I will be there as media, and let's pack this place, and let's show the nation what the BBN is all about, even for the women.
Yeah, because the women need just as much support as the men do.
It's an absolute great advantage in the women's game to be a host site. And let's show these girls that their hard work this year is rewarded with a fantastic crowd. Now, they are playing Liberty. Liberty is the CUSA champs. They're 26-6 on the year, John. They've had a really great year, Liberty Flames.
They have, they got two really good stars in Emma Hess and Bella Schmuda. I think Bella Schmuda was the MVP of the tournament. This is a really good Liberty team. Coach Brooks mentioned, I think in one of his press conferences, that he played Liberty while he was, I think, at Virginia Tech, was it?
And James Madison, both.
And James Madison. So this is a really good Liberty team. It's not one you want to kind of slack off and not give your best effort. But Kentucky should win this game. They should take care of business. The game that really concerns me is the second one. Kansas State's pretty good. They got some really good shooters. They've been kind of up and down during the year at times. They've lost here and there games. They would get hot and then they would lose 2 or 3. It's just a matter of who gets hot in the tournament, and you just got to go from there, Brad. I mean, if you get to Sweet 16, you never know.
Speaking of Sweet 16, the next game, Kentucky, if they beat Liberty, of course, this is a one and done, just like March Madness. This is what this is. So if you win that first game, it will be on Sunday at Memorial Coliseum. But right after, at noon on Friday, right after the Kentucky game, Kansas State, the 5 seed, plays Fairfield, the 12 seed.
Yeah, they play at 2:30. Fairfield is making back-to-back tournament appearances for the first time in school history. Pretty big accomplishment for them. Kansas State is a well-known team as well. They're always in and around the tournament.
Had a good season.
So, had a really good season.
They've been inside the top 10 to 20 all year long. Kansas
all year
State
long. So good opportunity, Brad. Great opportunity for these girls to go out and show the world that they can, make some noise. Because I always say, if you can get past that first weekend, you never know what'll happen in a Sweet 16 Elite 8 environment. You give yourself an opportunity and a chance. And I think the girls are going to come out and they're going to be prepared and ready to go.
All right, so that would be the first and second rounds. If by chance, let's talk about the region that they are in. And this is kind of what you was talking about, John. Here's the first thing I don't like about it. One of the regions was in Birmingham, Alabama, which is a whole lot closer than Spokane, Washington. Okay, so they got sent out west. And when they got sent out west, you was either going to be matched up with UCLA or you was going to be matched up with USC. The women got in with USC. They are the 1 seed. However, John, when you look at this bracket, UConn is the 2 seed. And we just sat and said that most of the time 1 seeds make the Final Four on the women's side. However, the last 2 years, there's been one team that wasn't a 1 seed that made the Final Four. Do you know who that team is?
UConn.
UConn made it as a 3 seed last year and a 2 seed the year before. UConn is the one, and UConn is the one that knocked out Juju last year.
And another added bonus into all this is if you do get to Spokane, you're probably going to have the crowd against you with USC. You're going to have that.
Yeah, because it's out west. So, talking about fans here, I honestly, there's probably not going to be a lot of Kentucky fans to go to Spokane, Washington for the women's team. I'm just going to call it like it is.
Now you might have some of the family. Some of the family might be
that's
there,
a long, expensive trip. Yes, there'll be some family there, but it's not going to be a packed house of Kentucky fans. I can tell you that.
Not at all.
No. So in this bracket, you got the 3 seed is Oklahoma. Kentucky split with Oklahoma. Like I said, on the road they won. They lost at the neutral site in the SEC tournament. So they did play Oklahoma twice and split with them. They are capable of, winning a game or two, John. I'm going to be honest with you. I thought about this on the ride home last night because I had a 2-hour and 15-minute drive home. And I thought, you know what? If we get matched up with Juju and USC in the Sweet 16, I was sitting there thinking, and I was like, who would I put defensively? Who would I put on Juju? Because Juju's a 6'2", and she really plays lead guard. Like she handles the ball, plays forward / guard. She can go down low. She's 6'2". And here's my thing. Our guards are Georgia Amore at 5'6" and Deja Lawrence at 5'8". I don't think I would put a guard on her. Like we would be too undersized. You know what? You know who I think I would start on Juju Watkins? Tiani Key. I think I would start Tiani Key. Size, she's 6'4". You're muted.
I could see that.
That's who I would start. I think that's who I would start out. Now, Tiani has an issue of fouling sometimes, especially early in games, and she gets in foul trouble. So you would really have to talk to her and be like, okay, I need you to guard her aggressively without fouling, and kind of see where you go. But I would put the height on her and put Tiani Key guarding her to start out with. And if I needed to switch, I wouldn't be afraid to put Strack or Hassett on her in spots, in periods, when Tiani's out and stuff. I think I would put size on Juju because I think if you put Deja Lawrence, no offense to Deja's a great player, but Juju's a fantastic player. And she's got so much size and ball handling skills. I don't think you can put a 5'8" guard on her. Looking at some of these. So Friday, we can't be split. Now, they're different times. We got noon and we got 7. So plenty of time to go to Memorial and get back home to see the Cats play at 17.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be quite a bit of fans go to Milwaukee for the Cats.
Yeah, there will be. Hey, man, if you're talking about what I said about Juju and who should guard her, listen, I'm thinking ahead. I know that Kenny's not thinking that far out. He has to win 2 games, and he has to beat Kansas State, which is a very good team. It's not going to be an easy game. There's no way that I'm sitting here telling you guys that we definitely are going to match up with USC and Juju. I'm just saying I was thinking about it on the drive back. I had a little bit of time and was thinking about it last night. And those are some of the things that I kind of come up with. All right. So the last thing I want to talk about here on the girls' side of things, on the women's side of things here, John, is there's been a little bit of recruiting stuff going on. Actually, this past weekend, and she may have been there last night, I don't remember seeing her, but there was so many people in the jumpsuits and stuff in between. I'm not sure if she was there last night or not, but they had a girl on campus. Emily McDonald is her name. She's a 2026 recruit. She's a 4-star kid. And she's from New York. She was on campus over the weekend and visited. And then they also got on a list of a top 5 recruit over the weekend. She's a 2026 girl. And Kenny seems to really be going hard after the 2026 class. He's got Madden Greenway, who just won her 4th straight title in Minnesota. She is a fantastic guard that's going to be coming in 2026. And if he could pair Madden Greenway with a couple of these players from 2026 that he's recruiting, watch out. I'm telling y'all, watch out.
He'll have some stud girls in there.
This big girl that I have to try to look up her name now off the top of my head. I was sitting here going to tell you guys about it. Emily McDonald was the guard that was in over the weekend. And then there was a girl she's a top 5 recruit in 2026. She's a 6'4", 6'5", power forward center. She's one of the best in the country. Of course, her list includes all the best teams: Texas, South Carolina, UConn, LSU. I mean, all the best teams. There's 7 of them, her final 7. But guess who's in that final 7? Kentucky and Kenny Brooks. And he's doing a fantastic job. And because we got Madden Greenway, who's one of the best guards in the country, point guards, there's nothing a little bit more attractive to a big girl than having a great lead guard to get you the ball.
Yep.
So that might help with that recruitment is all I'm saying. And Kenny's doing a fantastic job. So just wanted to throw that out before we switch and go to the men. Before we do, later today, I probably will have that Selection Sunday show, the watch party article out. I've written one. John has written one about Kentucky's Selection Sunday stuff. So check it out on the men's side. And we are writing all the time. Check out our articles with stadiumrant.com. Matter of fact, I just noticed that I don't have the Stadium Rant symbol in the top of the screen. Huh. Okay, hang on a minute. Did that come up? There it is. All right. I haven't done this for a couple of weeks, so I hadn't been on. All right. But anyway, so Stadium Rant, check us out. We are part of Stadium Rant. We are writing for Stadium Rant, and we appreciate Stadium Rant very much and being able to do this and be a part of everything. So check them out. Check out stadiumrant.com. If you are a sports fan, they cover everything. You will love it. All right, John, we're going to do the same thing, kind of run through the same order. SEC basketball tournament. Kentucky started out pretty good, I would say. You know, they had the one-day bye. They played on Thursday, beat a good Oklahoma team, and it's the team that Owe just loves to dagger. Let's just put it that way. Owe has another great dagger against Oklahoma, and huge win. Honestly, it was great to celebrate. The fans exploded. It was a great night, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and
even though we didn't win the tournament and all that.
I think a lot of that emotion being late, and then just it took the energy out of them the next night against Alabama. You know, Then you had Lamont Butler being out for that game. There was just a lot of emotions there. And then Ortega got hurt midway through the first half, got his nose busted, his lip busted. There was just a lot of Kentucky.
Yeah.
They just looked exhausted.
His
Honestly,
lip, yeah.
They just looked tired. I think
Especially the
from
second
night
half.
before,
Yeah.
they just looked second half they just looked wore out. And Alabama went on. They eventually lost to Florida, and Florida ended up winning the conference champion tournament, which is playing as good as anybody right now against Tennessee. So great atmosphere at the SEC tournament. Unfortunately, it didn't go the way Kentucky fans wanted it to go, but we did get to see a win there, which was kind of needed after the last couple of years.
Better than we've done the last couple of years at the SEC tournament, I can tell you that. And like you said, Florida went on to win the tournament. It was their fifth SEC tournament title win. They had not won it, John, since Billy Donovan in 2014.
Yeah, it had been
when
a
Billy
while.
Donovan was their coach.
And from there, I'm just kind of going to go. And I thought there was a couple of instances in this tournament where I thought we was going to get matched up with BYU. Because there was a moment there in that little slot where they said, and with offense, and then they went and they said Wisconsin. And I thought they was getting ready to say Kentucky when on the BYU VCU game, the bracket there. And I thought, well, okay, well, we're not here. Yeah. So, and then I thought, well, the next bracket will probably be, and that was the Midwest, which we ultimately got Troy. We played the winner of Illinois, Xavier, Texas, which Xavier, Texas played the playing game in Dayton.
We will. We'll get there. Hang on just a second. I want to kind of start and run through the same thing. So last night, the men also had a watch party, and I showed you the women's kind of reaction. That was from my point of view. I'm going to show you the men's watch party reaction as well.
And it's Illinois as the 6th seed, the highest scoring team in the Big Ten, despite injury and illness, forcing Brett Underwood to use 7 different starting lineups since January 8th. And they will be watching this matchup. Texas against Xavier in the first 4.
So Xavier was 1-9 in quadrant 1, which means that Xavier and North Carolina both in the tournament in combined 2 and 21 in quad 1. And how about Texas? They had 7 quad 1 wins, but they were underwater in quad 2. That double overtime win over Texas A&M in the league tournament. We've been saying, guys, all season long, SEC, SEC, SEC. The committee apparently agreed.
Pretty wild right there. Number 3 seed here is so look out there. The 7-10 matchup in Lexington. UC.
All right, guys. That was the men's Selection Sunday watch party. Kind of subdued, really.
Yeah, I mean.
What'd you think, John?
Yeah, it was a little bit. I mean, they're obviously disappointed with the outcome. Against Alabama, and I think there's a lot happening.
Listen, a 3 seed is still pretty. Like, I'll be honest with you, and John's been saying 3 seed for the last 6 weeks. Okay, I'll give him a little bit of credit here because I've been worried with some of the games they've been losing, and I thought for sure they were going to fall to a 4 or 5. I'll give you credit. You said 3 all along, and that's where they land. I'll put it in here for you. They land as a 3 seed.
And to get a 3 seed with so many injuries that they've had all season, losing Butler, losing Carr at times, they lost Jackson. Then they had, Amari had the little scrape up late in the year where he got injured, but he came back, was the Oklahoma game. They've had so much go against them, and for them to get a 3 seed
Carissa.
with all that's happened this year and the dynamics of all these injuries, it says a lot about what Pope has done in his first year.
So they get put in Milwaukee. What did you think about us being put as a 3 seed in Milwaukee? Does that seem like most of the time Kentucky is in the South or the East? Most of the time,
it was either there was probably 3 options. It was either Milwaukee, Cleveland, or Providence. They usually try to designate the teams closest to where they play, and it was either those 3. Which I'd rather be in Milwaukee, honestly. It's not too far of a drive for UK fans. It's a decent trip, but
it's 7 hours from Lexington.
It's still a good amount where fans can go and enjoy the games.
So I will say this tonight. Actually, before we come on the air, Mark Pope had a call-in show tonight, and he told the fans on his call-in show tonight that if you needed gas money to get to Milwaukee, to call him. For real. That's what he said.
To hit him up, yeah.
To hit him up, yeah. He told fans to hit him up if you need gas money to get to Milwaukee.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Brad. I like this Troy team. Scott Cross is the head coach for Troy. He used to be at UT Arlington. They fired a really good coach. He led them to their only NCAA tournament appearance, UT Arlington. They won the Sun Belt. Tayton Connerway, the Sun Belt Player of the Year, is a really good basketball player. They're really good defensively. I think they're 25th in the country in defense efficiency. UT Arlington's only had just 121 season since Cross left. That shows you what kind of coach this coach is.
Yeah.
This is a really good team. They only lost 1 game since February 8th, and they won their conference tournament by average of 16 points. But they did the 3 games.
They sound like an SEC team, John.
Sort of like an A&M type.
They rebound. They rebound well. They play great defense. They're physical.
But the missing piece for them is they're not a great shooting team. They're just not. They don't shoot the ball very well at all.
No. But I'm just saying there's a lot of attributes that you look at. They kind of sound like one of those tough-nosed A&M, Mississippi State, SEC schools.
They are. And Kentucky's going to have to be on their game. They're going to have to be ready, prepared. I've always said, the last 3 years, Kentucky's come out dead in these games where they get behind. They have to play catch up. They get ahead 2 or 3, and then the other team comes back and gets a lead. And you even told me, with 10 minutes to go in a team that, you need to put a team like this away. Because if you give a team momentum,
it always tightens up. If they're still in the game, if they're within 8 or 10 points with 10 minutes to go, it always tightens up, man.
It always does. And now we get Lamont Butler back, which I think is going to help. But we've been really, really shaky defensively. Now we did become a top 40.
Let me ask you about the Butler stuff, okay? Because Pope is all of a sudden now acting like Lamont Butler is going to be good. He's ready. He's ready to go. He's good. 2 days ago, they were afraid he was going to be out and not coming back.
Well, I think he had a different kind of injury.
Do you think any of this is just like playing so that people? Do you think any of it's just kind of messing with minds, or do you think he's actually that good to go?
I don't think he's healthy, but I think he's good to go to play. A lot of people misinterpreted what was going on the other night. He had a different kind of injury than what he normally has. And Pope even said, and spokespeople from Kentucky even said that they had played Saturday, they had probably played Sunday in the championship game, Lamont would have probably played. It was just a different kind of injury than his shoulder injury that he had. I think he was just holding him out for precautionary reasons. But if Lamont is ready to go, then let Lamont play. Now, if he gets hurt and he does the same stuff again, then Kentucky's going to be
all right.
struggling.
My next question is this: would you push Butler in this Troy game, or would
Probably
you only
not.
play him 8 or 10 minutes a half?
I'd probably play him 8 or 10 minutes a half because you don't probably need him to beat Troy. Let's just be honest. If you do what you need to do, you can use Kobe Brea, Amari Williams, Ortega Owe, those guys. I think with those guys, you can manage a game down the stretch and put a team like this away. Now, a team like Illinois or a Xavier or a Texas, you're probably going to need Butler for at least 20, 25 minutes, at least to get to the Sweet 16. And, that's pushing it. But they're still shorthanded, Brad, like I said. But they still, when they're on.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
And they're shooting, they have a high ceiling. And one that can get to the Sweet 16.
I agree with that. So in our bracket, the 5 teams that's in our bracket, because we got a play-in game here. The first game, I guess I should say, is the play-in game. 11 seeds, 10. The winner of that one will be Illinois. Play Illinois, and that will be who advances.
Yep. I think
what do you
Texas
think about these games and these teams. Who comes out of
Texas? That? I think Texas deserves to be in. 7 quad 1 wins. Now they did have a 6-12 record in SEC. They lacked a lot of quality wins that most teams had, but they did enough, I think, in the SEC tournament to maybe sway the committee.
I don't even think it should have been a question.
Them in.
7 quad 1 wins is quality wins.
It is. Trey Johnson is really, really good for them. He's a lottery pick, 20 points per game. If you've not watched this kid play basketball, you need to sit back and enjoy. He's just a joy to watch play the game of basketball. Me and Brad talked about him pretty much all year. He can take over a game in just a matter of minutes. He did the Kentucky game. He had, 34, I think. He had 28 one night against A&M, I believe. He's the real deal. Now, Xavier, they got Fremantle back. He had a foot injury. The last couple of years, he ain't been able to play much. Sean Miller's got a pretty good team. They got one of the top 3-point shooting teams in the country, 39%. They beat UConn. They beat Marquette. They also have a top 25 defense. So either one of these teams plus Illinois is going to be an easy out for Kentucky. But if I had
Illinois,
to make
John, is one of those teams. Illinois is one of them teams, man. On certain nights, they look like they could beat anybody. And then on certain nights, they look like they're going to get beat by 20.
Yeah, and they have a top 15 unit. The Kasparis Jakunas. I think that's how you say his name right, for Illinois. Will Riley, he's a projected first-round pick. They had a really good end of the year, the 4-game winning streak.
I'm not going to even try.
Underwood's
they got Big Z's twin brother actually.
Visic, Morez Johnson is back from a wrist injury. He was sidelined late in February. So this is Illinois' team. They're like Kentucky in a way. Not great defense, really good offense, high ceiling, just ain't been able to stay healthy, been on the court all year. That would be an interesting matchup if it comes to fruition with Kentucky and Illinois, because it's a matchup of two teams that can score. Maybe the first team to 90 wins that game. And like I said, Xavier's got a good shooting team.
Orlando's there. Big Z's brothers there. There is a few ties to Illinois.
Well, and Texas, to me, has more of a defensive team. They get lost in the sauce offensively at times where they can't score. They struggle to score at times, but when they score and they play offense and play ugly, sometimes it's really
ironically pretty. Xavier's had some injury issues this year as well.
And with Fremantle, he had been hurt off and on with a foot injury, and being able to come back from what he had is pretty impressive. And what Sean Miller's done, it's incredible, to the testament to his team. Even though they only had one quad one win, I think.
Two. I think they were 2-9.
I think they had two. And North Carolina had one, which we'll get to North Carolina tomorrow night. That's another topic that we need to discuss. So, but overall, I like this bracket, Brad. I think this is a good bracket. I think it sets up nicely for us again, like last year. We had Oakland last year. NC State made that big run. They was the 11 seed, 6 seed, I think. So another opportunity here to get a chance to go back to Sweet 16 and might get to play your rival down the road, the Tennessee Vols.
Listen, John, from the very first – when I first seen this bracket last night, my first instinct was, man, I kind of like the looks of this bracket. Now, I will say this. The Midwest region is kind of an odd region for Kentucky to be in.
Yes,
we don't really fall in the Midwest region all that often.
I think some of that
it's kind of an odd region for Kentucky to be in.
I think with so many SEC teams, they was trying to change different, first round opponent, because you get 14. It's like Alabama, for instance. Alabama might get to play Vanderbilt in the second game now. It's just the SEC is they had so many teams that
we might be playing Texas.
Well, you couldn't be avoiding nobody. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying we might be playing Texas in the second game as well. So I just want to kind of run through here. I already talked about Illinois being the 6th seed. The 1 seed in the Midwest is Houston. John, Houston's got a great team, but they are not an offensive team that's going to kill you like Alabama or Florida. They play good defense. Tennessee does not have a great offense. They have a good offense with a great defense. Then you got Purdue and Clemson as the 4 and 5.
Oh, yeah, and
Kentucky is the 3.
Purdue playing High Point, and you got Clemson playing McNeese. And they got the student manager that gets his first ever NIL deal. He's living the life at McNeese. I find he's living the life right now, man. That dude is. Got his first, I think, as a student manager, their first NIL deal. Fun region here in the Midwest. When it all comes down to it, I think Houston will probably come out of this. I think Houston's the best team. But I wouldn't be shocked to see Tennessee, the 3 teams that kind of, I think, with a high ceiling are Tennessee, Kentucky, and Illinois. One of those 3 will knock off Houston.
Let me ask you, down the road, Kentucky's the 3, Tennessee's the 2. We have beaten Tennessee twice this year.
Mhm.
Not once, but twice. We beat them in Lexington and we beat them in Knoxville. Both places. When I saw the bracket, I'm gonna be honest with you, John. Tennessee's not a team I'm scared to play. Like, it's not one that I would say, oh, I don't know if we can beat them or not.
It's that idea that you beat them twice.
I get it, but I said the same thing about Alabama, and Alabama took care of us. So
Alabama won 3 against us. So
yeah, I mean, I said the same thing about them, and they took care of us. So, but there is a potential matchup here of hated rivals, Kentucky and Tennessee in the Sweet 16.
and in
And I'm
Indianapolis,
going to be honest with you. In Indianapolis.
I said, and in Indy, a place that's not too far from Lexington.
Right. Yep. And I'm going to be honest with you, John, that if that happens, that's going to be one whale of a game. That's all I'm going to say. Like,
It's going to be a war. I can just
those
tell you.
fan bases in, like, Kentucky and Tennessee's played a bunch. They played in the SEC tournament, but I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to have to go back in the memory bank. I don't know how many times Kentucky and Tennessee has met in the NCAA tournament with everything on the line.
Well, and I said last night, I mentioned this, you win the games in Milwaukee, you're going to Indianapolis, maybe what, a 3-5 hour trip at the most, 6?
Oh, it's from Lexington, and it's
Maybe
3.5.
3 hours. And from Knoxville, it's what, about 5?
Yeah, 5 or 6, yeah.
That's going to put Tennessee fans and Kentucky fans in one spot.
Yep.
Boy.
I'm telling you, I don't know how many times. I'm going to have to look it up. I don't know how many times. They've played a lot, over 100, 120 or something. They've played a lot.
I heard a funny story last night. Somebody was talking about Kentucky and Tennessee maybe potentially meeting in the Sweet 16. He was a Tennessee fan, and I think it was on a message board or something, and said if Kentucky was to beat us in the Sweet 16 and knock us out, he said, you might as well put something on my grave.
I'm going to tell you right now, Kentucky fans will be just as bad if Tennessee gets knocked out. Tennessee's going to be awful. I mean, that game will be one of the best games in the tournament, I think. Yeah, if it happens.
It'd be one of those things where up until the game, the Sweet 16, it'll be talked about like that whole week. Like,
oh yeah,
it'll be
absolutely.
one to talk.
That's going to be that's going to be a highlight of the tournament, if you ask me. If the game happens.
But here's the thing: Kentucky has to take care of business in Milwaukee. They can't getting past that first. I've said it, Brad. Pope said it. He said he don't want this about him. He had mentioned that in an article today on KSR.
Yeah, he said that.
You're going to have to get past. You're going to have to get past this first game and get that over your head, because the last few years it's not been great. Getting out of that first weekend is going to be pretty immaculate when it comes to disappointment or failure. And even if they don't make the second weekend, I still think this was a great season. But the thing about, you look back at it and you think, well, what could have been with a healthy roster?
Oh, 100%. But I'm going to say this, John. I have been very fearful of postseason for the last 4 or 5 weeks because of health of this team. I think it has changed things tremendously, and we've lost some games. I've been very fearful of what it was going to look like. And right here on the show and talking to you several times, John, I have told you that I'm afraid that we might not even make the Sweet 16. And then the bracket come out yesterday. And John, I don't know. Maybe it's fool's gold. I don't know. But when I look at this bracket, I think, man, we might actually have a shot to the Elite Eight.
Yeah, you gotta.
We might have a shot to match up with Houston or Clemson or Purdue.
Ben says if we get out of the first. Ben says if we get out of the first weekend, how far do we go?
I'm looking at the bracket. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think Elite Eight is probably where our biggest hopes could be. I mean, let's be honest. If we played absolutely perfect and shot the lights out, could we beat Houston? I think
Maybe.
we could.
A lot's going to have to go Kentucky's way for this to happen, though. A lot of stuff.
I mean, I think we could. I mean, listen, you look at the top, we beat Tennessee twice. Now, Clemson did beat us on the road out of these teams. We played Clemson and lost on the road to Clemson. But we did beat Tennessee twice.
We beat Duke.
I'm just talking about these teams right here, just looking at these teams that's in the bracket. I mean, yes, if you look at the top teams, John, we beat Duke, we beat Florida, we beat Tennessee twice. Now, we lost to Alabama 3 times, so that don't look too good. But, as far as –
I said we beat Gonzaga. That was another one.
Yeah, that's in the bracket, actually. I think Gonzaga's in our bracket.
I think they're in with ain't they
Houston?
Who they with? Houston, ain't they?
They're 8. Gonzaga's an 8-9 seed. I don't remember which one they are.
If I'm Houston, I wouldn't overlook that game.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're in there with Houston, I think. I think they're an 8-9 seed.
I'll tell you this much. If Gonzaga was to pull that out, that whole section is up for grabs.
It is. This region could be up for grabs. And I honestly, looking at this region, there's no team that's like really scary. There's no great offensive team. Clemson is a good team. They're not a great offensive team.
Well, you don't have like a Florida. You don't have Alabama.
You don't have Duke. You don't have Auburn. You don't have.
And probably the only time you're really going to play them is in the Final Four.
Yeah. So could Kentucky make it out of this? I think it's reasonable when you look at this Midwest region.
But the thing is, Brad, they got to take it one game at a time, one possession at a time. And if you do that,
but what I get, you're 100% right, John. But what I'm kind of getting at is I've been the one that's been like, man, I just don't see it. I just don't see it with this team. I don't think we can do it. And then when the bracket come out, I'm like, uh-oh. I think the path is there. And I'm asking you, John, do you think I'm saying fool's gold just by looking at the bracket, or do you think we can actually?
It's there. It's just a matter of putting it together. Can they hit shots? Can they stay out of foul trouble? Can Brandon Garrison not do his normal stuff? Like, a lot of things are going to have to go right for Kentucky to get there. But if Butler is on the floor for the majority of these games, I think Kentucky's got a good chance.
Make a difference. Yes, Butler has to stay on the floor for any of that to happen. Absolutely.
If he stays on the floor for majority of these games, Kentucky's got a shot going to the Final Four. And I know that sounds crazy, but they do have a chance. But it's a very limited chance with his injury status. So take care of business against Troy Friday night, and then worry about the rest of the games as they come. But should be a fun region, fun tournament.
Absolutely. Check out Home Field Apparel. Use our code CSCast for a 15% discount. Appreciate that. We are on the Real Fresh channel on YouTube and the WSBN TV channel 30. You can find us on your Roku, Apple, Fire TV, through the HoopsCast app there. And then this is where you can find us, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and X or Twitter. Also stadiumrant.com. And we appreciate you guys being with us. We're going to be on tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, we're going to go through the early rounds, first and second rounds of every tournament matchup and game tomorrow night. We're going to do this quickly, but we're going to go through, make a quick point, and go through and make some picks on the games tomorrow night. We will not do a Friday show this week because the games will be going on. We're going to do all kind of talk about picks and stuff tomorrow with our show tomorrow. And that's how we're going to handle this this week and next week. And then the next week will be the Final Four. We'll do our Friday show and have a special Final Four show.
It's getting close for your NFL draft guy, maybe.
Yeah. And then I'll talk to John about this, but we did a live show for the final game, championship game for football. And I'm thinking about maybe us doing something like that for the Final Four or the final games for the men's and women's tournament, and just have a little bit of a live podcast and, a live game podcast show, like kind of what we did for the football. I thought that was pretty fun.
NFL's coming up. We got baseball getting ready to start up, getting ready to hit into another year of baseball, which we're probably going to take a break during the summer. I mentioned to Brad I'm going to take about a 2-week break. Just some of this can people don't get it. It can be exhausting, and sometimes you just need a break to kind of re-energize and get back to where you need to be. And we'll probably do that probably after the media days for the SEC football.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be taking a break.
Or in between that time. So,
all right, guys. March Madness is here. The first fours start tomorrow night. And then the women's first fours start Wednesday night. They're Wednesday and Thursday. The men's is Tuesday and Wednesday. The first fours. The women's is actually at the regional sites. So we got, I think, 1 in Spokane and 3 in Birmingham for the regional sites. They do them at the same place for the regional sites for the women's. And then, like I said, Dayton's the first four for the men's. They begin tomorrow night. And it's here. Also, before we go off here, go to our Facebook page and click on, we are doing a bracket challenge and trying to get everybody to come on and join our bracket challenge. If you are with us tonight and you hear this, go to CBS Sports and do their March Madness bracket challenge and look up College SportsCast Madness 2025 or College SportsCast Women's Madness 2025. We're doing one for the women's and for the men's. I'd love for you guys to be there. Just have a little bit of fun for these pools and see who can win and have a little bit of fun. I like doing that every year. So
yeah,
check them out. All right, guys, we're going to call it a night. We will see you tomorrow night, and we'll talk about all the games in March Madness for women's and men's.
Have a good one.
Y'all have a good one.
about to go watch the selection show starting in about 10 minutes. We about to go hit up Coach Brooks and G. I don't know which one's first, and I don't know what I'm going to ask, so we just going to let it flow. So I'm just going to ask you, like, how are you feeling about it?
I'm really excited. It's just an opportunity for us to just sit back and reflect on a long year and be able to enjoy all the hard work and all those days you had to run extra to get to this point.
Right.
But I'm really excited for you.
Thank you.
All right.
What's up, G? How you doing? I gotta ask you a question because I'm like that. How do you feel with your last ride coming up?
I feel great. Blessed to be in 5 tournaments. Not many people get to be in that position. It's cool knowing, watching the show and being like, no, we in. We just trying to see what seed we are. That's a blessed feeling. So I'm feeling good.
Fact. You heard it from the girl herself. She feeling good. We feeling good. Let's get it.
All right, guys, a little bit of fun from the watch party last night with the women. Have a good night.